Hi ladies, welcome once again to Conversations with my mother. This is my mother, Dr. Betty Burston.
And this is my daughter, Dr. Shatria Collier.
So today we are talking about suitors, fiancés, and husbands. So we had a question from one of our viewers last week, Mommy. And this is Kami. Hi Kami, I want to say hello to you from high school, a friend of mine. And she said, so why get married? She doesn't see the point.
I think it depends upon a person's personal preferences. If a person wants to get married, then these conversations are helpful. If a person does not, then these conversations are really a waste of time. But there are a lot of advantages to marriage. I like to use the example of, from business, of a sole proprietorship, which is equivalent to a single person, a partnership, which is equivalent to a marriage, and a corporation, which is equivalent to the coming together of families that occurs when marriage occurs. And if you notice, you hear about the top 100 corporations, not the top 100 sole proprietorships. So marriage is a framework that brings together the entire resources of two people, first of all, and eventually the two families of those two people towards the purpose of making our life a better life. The research confirms what I'm saying because married couples have higher income than single individuals. Even though there's new research coming out, it also shows that there are psychosocial benefits, that in general married couples are happier than single individuals. And also there are some health benefits, that married people live longer and have healthier lifestyles than do single people.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that people should marry for love, or you really think it's definitely more of the institution of a business framework?
Well, when you say marry for love, I don't like to use the term love because love is such an undefined term. And as an ex-researcher and ex-social scientist, I like things that have more definite meaning. I think it's very important in a marriage to have an intense romantic relationship. But I think that two people can create that intense romantic relationship. I think it's important in a marriage to adore your mate and for your mate to adore you, but not more than you adore God. So yes, I think the emotional element is very, very important. That's why there's a whole body of literature that talks about the importance of social support systems. People have less mental illness when they have a social support system. And marriage is the very basic. Your relationship with God is always first. Yes. But then your relationship with your spouse is your major social support system.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this whole idea of suitors, fiancés, and husbands. Now, my mommy is a huge advocate of marriage, ladies. So, as I've said before, be very careful. If you bring one of your suitors here, she will most likely say, so when are you going to get married? Okay. You know how they're serial monogamists? Well, she's a serial marriageist. No, she was. She's reformed now. What are you, 20 years now into your current marriage, okay? But what is your whole idea? She says no boyfriends, ladies. Let's repeat that again. Mommy says no boyfriends, only suitors, fiancés, and husbands. So let's get into that. What do you mean?
Well, one of the reasons I say no boyfriends is because a boyfriend actually delays your progress toward marriage. Normally, women enter into a, quote, boyfriend relationship, and it's an imperfect marriage. There's no commitment, no full commitment. That's why you're not married. That's why he's your boyfriend, because that commitment hasn't been made. But yet it has a lot of the elements of marriage. So it ends up, you try to be monogamous to each other, but you have no foundation for that monogamy. You can't fully share resources because there's, well, this is mine and this is yours. So in contrast, if you have multiple suitors, to build up one's inventory of suitors, one can very quickly progress to the engagement and to the marriage phase.
Well, can we be clear though? How do you distinguish a boyfriend versus a suitor?
Typically, women define boyfriends as being men whom they allow sexual access. Don't you agree that's how your generation these
Not
boyfriends.
necessarily. It's someone who you have a long-term relationship, who you're intimate with.
That's what I'm saying, but sexual access is there.
Yes.
So with suitors, there's no sexual access. Also with suitors, no sharing of resources. Don't accept money from suitors. Don't accept favors from suitors, any of those things. The purpose of the suitor phase is for you to be able to go through a selection process and select the person with whom you and he collectively decide you want to share a lifetime. And I think you need a lot of suitors. And if you have a quote boyfriend, if you're not allowing sexual access, you can do that. You don't need a list with these suitors because you should have all racial ethnic groups, all heights, short, tall. You don't want substance users. You don't want abusive men in your suitor pool. You don't want current criminals. You don't want married men in your suitor pool because they're not available for marriage.
Well, I think it was interesting when you said this whole idea of suitors, fiancés, and husbands, because I do think it's true. When I met my last boyfriend, I remember I called my girlfriend and I'm like, the day I met him, I was like, oh, I met my new boyfriend today. And he ended up being a great boyfriend, wonderful boyfriend. But at the same time, I do think that making that distinction between a suitor versus a boyfriend, it kind of helps to delineate your intention a little bit. Because to me, it's like, okay, if he's going to be my suitor, then this is someone who I could possibly have a long-term committed relationship with, and of course, marriage with.
Exactly. And as one of the things too, is as our producer had mentioned when we were talking about this conversation, is that it's how many suitors and for how long. I think it's very important to have a large pool of suitors. But as I said, there's going to be a quick process of elimination, because my goal is for you to be married in 3 months. So it means that some suitors after 2 conversations, there's no compatibility. And it's going to be a process of elimination that takes place. But it's also important to know that when you meet, when out of that suitor pool, you encounter this person with whom there's magic. There are not many people that have that level of compatibility. And so once that magical type of thing ignites itself, those other suitors are going to just fall away. And it's going to be for both of you. And before you know it, he's going to propose and you're going to get married.
But now some women might listen to this and be like, oh yeah, girl, I got a suitor, he takes me to dinner. I got a suitor to take me to the museum. Now, how do we distinguish?
Then they are an unpaid lady of the night. And please don't be angry with me for saying this. Never accept presents from any man. Because the minute you accept money, you accept presents, you're nothing except an unpaid lady of the night.
So a suitor then, when you think of suitor, is this someone who just courts you? And how long should he court you? How long is it appropriate to be courted by a suitor? And then again, as you said, when do we know to eliminate other suitors?
Well, see, if you have enough suitors, the process of elimination is going to take place. As you're spending time and talking with them and laughing and joking and, going to different events, with them, the process of elimination is going to take place. You're going to encounter, if the pool of suitors is large enough, you're going to encounter Mr. and Mr. Magic. And it's not just him, it's where the combination of you creates this magical type of intensity, where he wants to marry you and you want to marry him. And you two can't wait until your wedding night, where you have just a wonderful, fabulous time.
Okay.
No holds barred on that wedding night.
Okay. Now, I haven't actually started the dating process. As I've told you all before, ladies, I'm just getting out of a relationship. And I haven't started the dating process because one of my mentors, and Angelina, you'll be hearing more from her, and she was actually the originator of the Sacred Book List. But one of my mentors, she said, you need to take some time for yourself, get to know who you are before you actually get out there and start dating. But for those women who are at that mode who are ready to have suitors, and I'm not saying I wouldn't be opposed to a handsome suitor coming my way, but for those of you that are ready for suitors, what do you recommend? How do we find suitors?
They're everywhere. Every time you step out of the door and walk a block, you're going to pick up some suitors. Every time you go to a conference, you're probably going to pick up some suitors. So they're all around. They're in the grocery stores. They're online. One of the problems, though, is that because women are so accustomed to boyfriends, and I don't believe in booze, boyfriends, or babies, or baby daddies. I don't believe in those roles. There are no roles for those people in your lives. But they're everywhere. But women, I've noticed, when they do online dating, they immediately go into boyfriend mode. He winked at me, but then he didn't call me back for 2 days. So I'm not, that's boyfriend mode.
Yeah.
So what, it doesn't matter if he did, you're just building inventory. Do you see?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, so ladies, again, no matter where you are in the process, I want to leave you with some final words. And this is actually one of my additions to the Sacred Book list, and it's The Goddess Guide to Love. And this is just one of our more fun books in our book list. And she says, the goddess rules of love. Number 1, above all, a goddess does not look for love. She attracts love. She does not fall in love. She ascends with love. And she feels no pressure to stay in love when she knows she can forever play in love. Rule number 2, do what you love to do. Follow your bliss, live your dreams, listen to music that moves your soul, play with people you like, aspire to do work you enjoy, and take excellent care of yourself. Rule number 3, ladies, and this I feel is the most important rule. Mortals' rules don't apply to goddesses. Strive to overcome the nagging voice of the critic on your shoulder, whispering all the things that you are supposed to do. Define what is truly best for you. Take the best and leave the rest. And last but not least, rule number 4, learn to release gracefully and gratefully with divine timing. In other words, in order to give love, in order to love, we must receive love, we must give love. It's an ongoing cycle. Anything you want to add to our goddess rules, Mommy?
And when you begin your inventory build-up process, people are going to talk about you terribly. They're going to say, oh, look at her. Every time you see her, she's with a different man. Even when you begin walking out the door, we've talked several times about enhancing, showing the beauty that God has given us. People are going to say, oh, look what she's wearing. But ignore those things and just enjoy being a woman and enjoy serving God, and the two things are not incompatible.
I love that. Now, one more thing, ladies. The next time we come back, we're going to be talking about the interview process, like really getting to know our suitors so we can decide if we want to take it to that next step. So we'll talk to you again soon. We love you. Stay beautiful, empresses, goddesses, princesses, and all you wonderful people out there. Mwah.